Alright, so today we're going to work on creating the title block. So the title block and the border is basically an outline that is on your paper that's going to define like your drawing. So when we do this, we're going to have, we're not going to have all those notes on there. We're going to have just a basic sheet that looks like this. And we're going to have to use a couple different layers or spaces. So up to now, you've been drawing everything on your model tab area. When you're drawing in the model tab area, you do not have any title blocks or anything like that. But when we get done with this, when you go over to your title block area, you're going to be able to access that space using what we call model space and paper space. When you're on this level here and on the tab and you're in paper space, what that means is that you can access all of your information in your title block. You can fill out information. You can change that text. When we want to access information that's in our model tab area, we have to double click or activate the viewport. So by doing that, you can either double click inside the viewport or you can hit this button down here that says paper and switch it to model. So those are two ways of accessing that space. So in order to get into the model tab, you can hit the word paper and it switches to model. Once you're inside of that area, you can then access that area. So I drew that circle and I want to find that circle. So I'm going to double click my scroll button to zoom extents, and there it is. So as I'm drawing in this area, I can add stuff to it and it's going to appear over in that model tab area. So I can draw anything over here in this area and it will show up in that space that has already been defined by our viewport. Okay. Now, if we're in the paper space area, we're not going to be able to access that information. So if I draw something in this area, you will see that that object does not appear in the model tab. So whatever we draw in the paper space area stays in the paper space. Okay, so I can only edit that object in paper space. So double clicking inside the viewport allows us to go into that area. So that's what we're going to start. We kind of really have to know what we're going to be doing and where we're going to be drawing. So when you start your new tab today, you're going to click on your Layout 1 tab, and it's going to come up with this little box right here, and this is kind of like defining our A-size sheet of paper. I'm going to ask that you switch your layer. Click on the little down arrow up here, and you will see the list of layers pop up, and you can select the particular layer that you want to draw on. So we're going to start off by drawing a rectangle around in this space right here. And if we ever need to change layers, we can come back up here and click on these layers as necessary. You can also activate your layers by clicking over here and then selecting the layer and hitting the green check button, and that will switch it to the current layer. Alright, so now I'm just going to scroll out just a little bit so I can see my border. We're going to just draw the rectangle in between this little dashed hidden line and the solid line. So with your title block layer, you're going to go into the line command. I highly recommend that you go ahead and turn ortho on now so that way you can keep the line straight. I'm going to pick somewhere excuse me, down here at the bottom, and I'm going to construct a 10.25 inch long line. So I'm going to go ahead and move that, and I'm just going to eyeball it and get that centered, something like that. And I'm going to continue around this area right here with the other dimensions for the rectangle. So back over 10.25 and then close this. Now when we go to print, this border will set up a setting to where it will automatically center and get that perfectly centered at the end. So we're going to draw that rectangle and then we're going to go ahead and like offset these dimensions. So down at the bottom, oops, let me go back to the notes. So down here, this is what we're going to be looking at, is these actual dimensions. So from the bottom, you're going to offset that bottom line 0.25 and then another 0.25, giving us a total of a half of an inch. Then we're going to lay out the other dimensions. So we've got 4.25 2.7 all the way through. We're going to lay out all of those lines as the first step for this drawing. So I'm going to use my offset button, and I'm going to type in 0.25 and offset this line twice. And then I'm going to offset it again, working with the other dimensions. So 4.25, so working left to right. I'm going to offset that one time. And now, so I don't have to trim a lot of stuff later, I'm just going to go ahead and trim out this line and this one here. So as I offset these, I don't have to trim every single time. I just have the exact length of my line that I want, and I'm going to just offset that 2.7 and then 1.2, and that's going to wrap up that row. So whatever's left over should be 2.1. And then I'm going to do that again down here at the bottom. So 2.35 is going to be the first location. Trim that. And then finish offsetting. Oops, wrong way. 2.3, 2.3 again, so I can just click on that. And then 1.2. Oops, I messed that up. So let's go back to 2.3. Helps to click at the end. And then I'm going to offset 1.2. And I'm going to go back over here and erase that line that I do not want. Alright. Alright, the next thing I want you to do is to go ahead and let's just confirm that this is looking right and we have our layers set up right. And a true way of testing that is to turn on our line weight selection. So we're going to click on line weight right here. I'm going to click on that, and that box right here is going to appear on my lower part of my screen. So when you click on the line, show hide line weight button, you'll be able to see that those lines are now very thick, and that's an indication that it's correct. So we've got the title block layer set up with a 1.2 millimeter, and that's a fairly thick line. So that's what we're looking for. So you can go ahead and turn that off now, and we'll continue on with some construction lines for our text. Now, to do the text, we're going to go back and look at that drawing. We're going to look at this right here. So we're going to offset the bottom line up 0.063 and then to the right 0.063. What I'm trying to do is create an intersection right here that we're going to use for our center point for our text. So switching over here, offset 0.063. Offset that to the top and then to the bottom. So that's going to be our first location where we're going to place our text. Before we get into our text, we're going to have to change our text style. I want to change our text style to the Arial font. So you're going to type in ST, and then we're going to change the text font to Arial. So back over to our drawing. In the command line, type in ST, hit enter. Wait for that to appear, and the font style right now is this txt.shx. I'm going to click on that little down button and just type an A, and then I'm going to look for the Arial font. So I'm going to select that and hit apply, and now that just changed my font style. So now when I start to type, all of my font will be in the Arial font. Make sure that you click on that A. If not, if you go all the way to the top, you may see this other Arial, and that's not the correct one. So make sure it just says Arial, and there are no other things attached to that. So the text that we're going to be using is our multi-line text. Okay, when we use multi-line text, what it allows us to do is to draw a text box window, and we can start typing our text here. So the screen up here will change, and it will be very similar to some of the other applications that you use. The very first thing we're going to do is to highlight the text, the number. The default is 0.2. We're going to change that to 0.125 and then hit the enter button. Okay, as you see, the Arial font has already been selected here, and then I just want to check my justification. The justification is going to be the bottom left. Okay, so that's going to change my insertion point for my text. For right now, I'm just going to type the letter A, and I'm going to show you a trick that we're going to do with this. I'm going to just type in one letter, A, and hit the close text box. Now, what we've got here is a letter A, and remember that justification point? Now we can see a little blue grip with that text font. So I'm going to click on that blue grip, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to put it on that intersection. So that spaces all of my text with that spacing. After I do that, I'm going to hit the escape button, and I'm going to erase my two construction lines. Alright, so now I have a text, but I have a lot of other stuff I need to type. So if you look at what we're trying to get finished here, we've got all of the text is evenly spaced throughout this entire drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the copy button up here. Okay, make sure you're picking copy up here. I'm going to pick my text right there, select one letter, hit enter, and I'm going to pick this intersection. When I pick this intersection, every intersection that I pick from now on will copy that same font there. So that just means that I don't have to go and hit that offset and space each one of those lines over and over. I can just go through this entire list and have a letter A there. So after you do that, what you're going to do is double click on the text font, and then you're just going to change the text font. So I'm going to just double click there. Come on. There we go. Highlight the text, and then with the caps button pressed, you're going to type in the rest of the information. So that's DR, so that's for drawn by, colon, and then just type your name, your first and last name. Don't type first and last, but type your name right there. So type those things in there, hit the green check at the top to close that text box editor, and that is going to make your text appear. When you're done with that, you can turn the show line weight back on, and you should see that your text is a lighter line weight than your actual border.